I think many of us, especially when we're just starting out in medicine, we believe that being a good doctor is all about clinical skill.
Mm.
It's nailing that diagnosis, right? Or performing a procedure perfectly, the stuff at the bedside.
Absolutely. That's what we're trained to focus on.
But if you're, studying for your exams, maybe the MSRA, or you're just trying to figure out the NHS, you quickly realize the actual rule book.
The GMC guidance.
Exactly. The General Medical Council's rules are so much broader. They're asking you to be a leader, sometimes before you even feel ready to lead yourself.
That's true. And that huge expansion of duty is what we're going to dive into today. We're breaking down the GMC's guidance on leadership and management for all doctors.
And this isn't old news, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's been around since 2012, but it's had some really important updates as recently as December 2024. And the core message is that this isn't some high-level guidance for consultants or managers.
Right.
It's the mandatory standard for every single medical professional. So that's doctors, PAs, everyone.
So the big question is, if you're a junior doctor, maybe just a few weeks into your first rotation, are you really a leader? And the GMC says, yes.
Unequivocally, yes.
So the mission for you listening to this is to find out why your accountability stretches so far, why it goes into things like budgets, team culture, and what the GMC actually demands you do, no matter how senior you are.
And it's all about managing risk. And for your exams, this is the blueprint for those tricky professional judgment questions. Leadership is collaborative. It's about the whole team, even your non-clinical work, audit, training. You're accountable to the GMC for that, too.
Okay, let's unpack that. I mean, if I'm a good clinician, why is the GMC suddenly so worried about whether I'm filling out audit reports or thinking about service development plans? What's the big shift here?
The fundamental shift is that being a good medical professional is leadership.
Right.
They're one and the same now. Good doctoring includes management, because you can't have safe patient care without a safe, effective system. So your duties cover everything from employment issues, teaching, resource management, all of it.
Because you can't be a safe doctor in a broken system.
Exactly. And the GMC says you have a responsibility to help fix that system.
That feels like a lot of pressure. But let's get into the specifics, sort of the fine print. How does the GMC actually enforce this? I know it comes down to two key words.
Yes, you must and you should. Understanding this distinction is, frankly, high yield for any SJT.
So must is, what, a red line?
It's a red line. You must means it's a legal or ethical duty you are expected to meet. If you don't do it, you have to have an incredibly good reason why. It's basically non-negotiable.
And should, that sounds a bit softer.
It is. You should refers to good practice.
Yeah.
It's what you ought to do, but the guidance gets that sometimes, things get in the way.
Like an emergency or no staff.
Precisely. You should do an audit. But if the ward is dangerously understaffed, your priority is clinical care. But here's the catch. You must raise the concern about the staffing. See the difference?
I do. That's a very clear line.
Yeah.
So based on those musts, what are the absolute core duties that apply to every single doctor from day one?
Okay, so paragraph 2 lays them out. First, you must engage with colleagues to keep care safe and improve quality.
Right.
Second, and this is huge, you must raise and act on concerns about patient safety. That is not optional.
Okay.
Then there's the culture piece. You must promote a working environment that's free from discrimination, bullying, and harassment.
And finally,
Resources. You must use them efficiently for patients and the public. These are really the cornerstones.
okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. I mean, team dynamics, it can get messy, right? It's easy to say work well together, but what if a colleague is actively causing problems? Who is accountable then?
The GMC gives you what I'd call a dual mandate. It's really robust. First part is simple respect. You must respect and value every team member, medical or not. You must treat them fairly. You must not bully or harass them. That's the baseline.
But the second part is the tough one, the courage mandate, I've heard it called.
That's a good way to put it, because it takes guts, especially as a trainee. The guidance says you should challenge the behavior of colleagues who don't meet that standard of respect.
But what if it's a senior consultant? The risk of challenging them feels huge.
It does feel huge, and that's why the guidance is so important. It makes it a professional duty. It elevates it. And if the behavior involves discrimination, it's no longer a should, it becomes a must. You must tackle discrimination where it arises.
So the GMC is essentially giving you cover. It's telling you the professional duty to act outweighs the personal risk of speaking up.
That's it, exactly. It's a shield.
Let's talk about communication. It's always at the root of things when they go wrong. What are the rules there, especially around handover?
The guidance is trying to break a really dangerous habit, which is assuming someone else has it covered.
Ah, yeah, the I thought you were going to do it problem.
Right. The rule is you should not assume someone else will pass on vital information. And if you are unclear who's meant to be communicating something, you must check. The responsibility is on you to make sure that message lands.
And what if you spot a problem with the system itself? The handover process is flawed or the software keeps crashing.
Then you should take action. Flag it. Raise it with a manager. And for anyone who is a manager, the duty is even stricter. They must make sure staff are crystal clear about their roles and responsibilities.
Let's move on to performance. I think for a new trainee, spending hours on an audit can feel like a distraction from seeing patients. Why does the GMC put reflective practice on the same level as, say, learning a clinical procedure?
Because reflection and audit are how we stop mistakes from happening over and over again. They're safety tools.
So they're preventative medicine for the system.
Perfect analogy. You should regularly reflect on your performance and ask for feedback. But it's not just thinking about it. You must take part in reviews and audits, and you must follow the procedures for reporting adverse incidents and near misses. It's all about finding problems early so they can be fixed.
And what about teaching? If I'm not a named supervisor, do I still have a duty to teach?
You do. Anyone who comes into contact with trainees or students should act as a positive role model. But if you are a formal supervisor, the rules get much tighter. You must know exactly what your supervisory duties are, you must give clear instructions, and you must be available to help. Patient safety hangs on it.
Now for a classic dilemma, the grievance tightrope. Let's say I have a genuine complaint about my contract, a personal grievance, but at the same time I have a massive concern about unsafe staffing on the ward. What comes first?
This is such a critical point for professional judgment, and the GMC is absolute on it. You should understand the difference between your personal issue and a risk to patients. And if they overlap, patient safety must be your focus. It has to come first, every single time.
So you deal with the safety issue through the proper channels and your employment issue separately.
Yes. And you can't delay acting on the safety risk because you're tied up with your personal grievance. That would be a huge professional misstep.
Which leads us perfectly into the thorniest topic of all, resources. The duty to patients versus the duty to manage a strained NHS budget. It feels like a constant conflict.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
But the GMC gives you an ethical framework. You must provide the best service you can within the resources you have.
But what is best? How do you decide?
Crucially, it has to be fair. Decisions about priorities must be based only on two things: clinical need and the likely effectiveness of the treatment.
So I can't prioritize someone because of their age or their lifestyle or because they complain the loudest.
Absolutely not. None of those discriminatory factors are allowed. It's purely clinical need and effectiveness.
And you have to be open about it, I assume.
You must be open and honest with patients and your team about how decisions are made and what the constraints are. You can't just say no. You have to explain the criteria. It's all about maintaining trust.
Okay, but what if a manager makes a decision, say, to cut nursing staff, that I believe will directly put patients at risk of serious harm? Do I just have to go along with it?
Definitely not. This is one of the strongest musts in the whole document. If you believe a management decision puts patients at risk of serious harm, you must raise that concern promptly with senior management. It's mandatory escalation.
How do you actually do that as a junior doctor, though? How do you make sure it's taken seriously and recorded?
This is where being technically compliant is your protection. The guidance says you must ask for your objections to be formally recorded.
So an email.
A formal email is perfect. Send it to the relevant manager, copy in your own supervisor. Use a clear subject line. Formal objection under GMC Guidance, paragraph 21, patient safety risk. State your concern and end by asking for it to be documented in the minutes of the next meeting. That paper trail is absolutely essential.
That's incredibly practical advice. Okay, let's just quickly wrap up on integrity with money.
Sure. This is pretty straightforward. You must manage your personal interests to avoid any conflicts. And if you're in charge of a budget, you must ensure the money is used for what it was intended for and properly accounted for. It's a professional duty because misusing resources ultimately hurts patients.
So that brings us to the end. We've gone way beyond just clinical skills. It's clear that leadership means, well, it means universal accountability. It means you have to challenge poor culture, and you have to be transparent about tough decisions.
Exactly. So let's maybe boil this down to 3 key takeaways for anyone listening,
Yes.
especially if you're prepping for exams like the MSRA where these scenarios come up all the time.
Go for it.
1, your accountability is way broader than you think. It covers management, teaching, resources. It's not just clinical.
2, challenging bad behavior like bullying or discrimination isn't just a brave thing to do, it's a professional duty.
And 3, patient safety always, always wins. It trumps personal grievances. And if you see a management decision that you think is dangerous, you must formally object and get it on the record. By the way, if you want to practice these kinds of scenarios, passthemsra.com has hundreds of SJT questions that test exactly these principles.
A great resource. And finally, a thought to leave everyone with. The guidance says every doctor, no matter how junior, must be a positive role model. So if you walked onto your ward tomorrow and saw clear discrimination or toxic behavior, would you remember that challenging it isn't just being brave?
It's being compliant. It's doing your job as defined by the GMC. That is the real test of this guidance, day in, day out. You have to apply these standards immediately. They are the definition of what it means to be a professional.
They truly are.